This episode of Lawyers Tell All is brought to you by the Intake Academy. Are you ready to convert more callers to qualified cases, rapidly qualify good cases, and transform unqualified prospects to advocates for your firm, whether you're able to handle their case or not? Visit www.intakeacademy.com and discover how to cement relationships with more of your ideal clients. Get them to commit to you and send you more referrals than you ever thought possible. Welcome to the Lawyers Tell All podcast, where Chris Mullins, the preeminent sales and communications consultant in the legal industry, shows you how it looks through lawyers' eyes. Here, innovators in the trenches provide powerful insights that help you connect with new clients, handle the sometimes harsh realities of the legal profession, and embrace the mindsets needed to succeed. Be sure to visit our website at www.lawyerstellall.com. And while you're there, subscribe to us via your favorite network. Now, lean in, tune in, and let's take a deep dive.
Hello, everyone. It's Chris Mullins with Lawyers Tell All, and today I'm going to interview Lindsay Kennedy, and I'm going to let Lindsay tell you a little bit about herself.
Hi, yes, I started Legal Reinforcements, and that is a company that helps law firms hire military spouses to work remotely for them in all capacities of the law firm: intake, legal assistant, paralegal, or attorneys, or of counsel attorneys kind of doing contract works, different things like that. Basically anything a lawyer would hire for, that's who we want to put a military spouse to assist you and make those connections. And then that military spouse can work directly for the law firm. So everybody's kind of win-win. The military spouse takes home the most money possible. The law firm pays them directly. And then they just, we get a finder's fee to make those connections.
Mm-hmm.
What brought me to this was the fact that about 10 years ago, moving all around as a military spouse myself, I wanted to practice law, but I was never barred where I lived, and it just wasn't feasible. So I started a law firm where I would do legal research and writing for other attorneys.
Mm-hmm.
And I had noticed paralegals had been doing it for decades, so why can't I, So in that time, I've met so many law firms that just needed this help in all areas, and I saw so many military spouses struggling to have a career, and so I thought, well, y'all need to all meet each other. So I just started to help make those connections.
And how long, and that's called Legal Reinforcements?
Yes, Legal Reinforcements.
And how long have you had that part of your business? Like, how long has that been?
So I made it about a year ago to a real for real business. I started doing it about 3 years ago, it just informally helping match people up and, not charging or anything. But then it just grew and grew that I thought, well, I have to start charging for this. It's taking up a substantial amount of my time.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And so the folks that you're helping, you're placing them, right? You're helping to place them. The finder's fee, is that what you're doing?
Yes. So we make the connections. We say, okay, tell us about what the job is, and we fully vetted these people, got to know them, and then we say, okay, we recommend this person or this person for your position, and then they can interview them and decide how to peruse from there.
Okay, so training wise, you don't do any training like for the paralegal or anything like that. It's mostly like just vetting them and checking their background and things like that.
There's a couple trainings as part of our vetting process that the paralegals will do. They're both pre-recorded, and one is on law firm etiquette. So everyone that it comes to me that I help has to have some level of office experience prior.
Mm-hmm.
And so just understanding the difference with a law firm itself. And then, so there's one training on that, and just to help them with some of the basic terminology. And then another training on what it means to be a 1099 versus a W-2, because so many of these situations will require the military spouse to be a 1099. So understanding, we want to make sure their taxes are done right and they know what they're doing.
Right. And so this must be wonderful for the military spouses. I mean,
yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've helped place over 100 to have jobs, which is great. And, they can move around and gives them opportunities. There's so few options especially I see a lot of mom military spouses that just want to work 5 to 10 hours a week.
Mhm.
And there's really nobody hiring for that. But there's so many
Yeah.
small law firms that desperately need that, just that.
Hmm. Okay. So talk about the law firms that you tend to attract, like for now, like so far, what kind of law firms are you working with?
Yeah, the overwhelming majority are definitely small law firms. They either have no employees yet, the true solos, or they have just a couple
Okay.
employees that they have, and then they're just growing and they need that additional help.
Hmm. What about the particular type of law firm? Is it family law or what are you mostly seeing?
It runs the gambit, but I would say the vast majority is probably the personal injury, family law,
Okay.
the ones that are more intense with needing more support staff.
Okay. And what would you say the most popular position is that you're filling?
Legal assistant for sure. Having someone to come in to help manage emails,
Yeah.
manage the calendar. Manage the calendar is the biggest one with,
Hmm.
attorneys.
Hmm.
Doing scheduling, calling the client to schedule those events and discussions, or just sending an update to the client that says, oh, we received this from the court, here's what's going on, or
Hmm.
obtaining information, if the attorney's already figured out what information is needed, getting that information from the client, actually saying, hey, let's really get this from you, and putting
Right.
forth that level of effort.
Yeah. Okay. And so what do you want everybody to know about this process?
That whatever it is you need in your law firm, if you're willing to hire remotely, you're better off hiring a military spouse, because we're going to have the longevity. I hate to put it in this context, but there's so few opportunities, career opportunities for us, both in person at these different duty stations and remotely, that, you'll be in demand in getting a higher than you'll get a really high quality candidate, someone
Hmm.
that you may not be able to attract in the civilian sector. I mean, I get people regularly that are, have a master's degree, 20 years experience, and it runs the whole gambit. I have one that does intake now, but she had a little bit of office experience and 6 years experience working as a waitress, and a
Hmm.
high-end waitress. I mean, very much so took a pay cut to become this, but she had a 6-year-old daughter, and working waitress hours meant she didn't get to see her very much.
Yeah.
So, being able to work 10 hours a week while she's at school is a godsend. I mean, it's an awesome connection there. And of course, she does intake and sales like super well.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. And so, well, what about computer setup and things like that? So they already have that, or who does that?
Yeah, for the most part, most of the military spouses have the computers set up, situation all handled.
Mhm.
Occasionally, the law firms want to provide a secured system, and so they'll mail a laptop to them and that sort of thing. It just depends on the job and how much security that particular law firm wants to include. But for the most part, we always make sure they have a laptop and they're ready to go. And some law firms will wait 90 days, so the
Yeah.
military spouse will use their own systems in place for the first 90 days. And then once you see, yeah, this is a relationship working out, they'll mail them then the laptop.
Hmm. So, well, what about feedback? What kind of feedback are you getting from the law firms?
I would say around 90%, give or take. It's extremely positive. We've had people in these law firms now for 3 years, 2 years, one
Mhm.
year, that we've placed, and it's really working well because they're getting this high caliber candidate to move around. There's always going to be some hiccups here and there. Um, for example, when we're PCSing, that's what we call moving.
Mhm.
Sometimes, if you're doing like an overseas move, you have to refigure out the logistics and that sort of thing. I mean, it's all doable. There's
Right.
an internet overseas as well. But, there might be, like, I've had ones that need, 2 or 3 weeks off in order to facilitate that move. And that can be very challenging for a law firm to accommodate. But, that sort of stuff, we make it work.
I think these days, law firms, businesses in general are more flexible. Like if the payoff seems to be far greater, then they're just more flexible to
I
me.
think so. Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I think the labor shortage helps with that. Like you have to be flexible for those good employees or you got to start from scratch and hope you get something good.
What's really interesting is more and more attorneys, practicing attorneys, are starting their own, like employment agencies.
Mhm.
So you've got legal reinforcements, and then are you familiar with Get Staffed Up?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Brett Tremblay and Get Staffed Up, and
Mhm.
Jason Melton, with Regents. So that's just really, it's interesting to me how practicing attorneys are like, yeah, we're gonna jump on this, right? You know,
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and I think especially with it was so fun to watch the transition with COVID show the legal industry that the internet exists. I mean, it was
I
such
know.
mind-blowing things that yeah, they so many more saw that remote can work. And so yeah, the transformation to have specific staffing available for these, it's great. I mean, there's backdoor Bettys, and then there's a few estate planning ones
Right.
specific to, and then I'm seeing, small paralegals, experienced paralegals switch to offer more freelance work, and then they get overloaded with clients, so then they hire,
Yeah,
um,
right.
so it's absolutely Propel Legal or Propel Paralegal does just bankruptcy. So it's fun to see the different areas of law and the explosion of remote help and staffing that has occurred for sure.
Yeah, and one of the other areas that's really a big opportunity is intake. And I don't see as much push for intake. I'm sure it's coming. Seems to be more like paralegals and attorneys and legal assistants, but intake is a huge void there. It's a revolving door inside the office, and so they need remote workers.
Oh, absolutely. And, phone calls can be answered from anywhere. You
Right.
just set up the logistics. I think that's probably the most apprehensive one that attorneys have because they want to be able to overhear and listen in on the person answering the phone, that receptionist there. But yeah, absolutely. If you don't have a need for someone, if your clients don't just drop in randomly and don't have the walk-in type clients, which the vast majority of law firms don't have walk-in clients, then there's no reason you should need that person sitting there right next to you. So absolutely think using remote and getting a higher caliber candidate, I mean, that's the face of your organization. That's the face of your law firm. You want someone who can really do the sales and get all the accurate information and just put the best foot forward for your law firm.
Yeah, I mean, you can always listen to the call recordings as long as you're following the legal part of it. So most law firms don't listen to their call recordings now anyways. So I don't really know if that will be a big stumbling block for them, but just taking that leap of faith. So what about your hopes, your goals, your dreams for legal reinforcements? Like where would you like to see this whole thing go?
I just want to see it continue growing to provide more opportunities for the military spouses. I intend to, provide more trainings for my people. I'll do more recordings and more live trainings for that. We've done some trainings, just one-offs here and there on like Chat GPT and how to use that to improve. Especially like email drafting, you're not talking about anything confidential that you're going to throw in there, but also making sure they understand that what you can't put in Chat
Right.
GPT with the confidentiality stuff. But then understanding, that was how I trained my assistant. I used her emails were just very unprofessional. And
Mhm.
so being able to then use Chat GPT, after 3 days, her emails were solid, fantastic. And I don't know that she's ever used it again since, but
Yeah.
that made it so I didn't have to constantly, okay, correct this email to train and do that and just, you know, eliminate the time commitment. So I'd like to do more trainings so that we get the military spouses to even they're the next caliber, to market them to law firms,
Mhm.
and just continue to grow in terms of helping law firms hire the military spouses. I mean, I would love to see, 3 or 4 years from now, I'm at the, 3,000 military spouses with careers, not just another job that you get at another duty station, but actual long-term careers.
Yeah, the career that would be great. And so maybe like if they're working flexible hours or something, they can spend the rest of their time learning from your recordings, your training sessions. Maybe they have to do so many of them in order to, be a member of your program and get placed and things like that. So that would be really good. What's it like being a military spouse and having the challenge of no career or job, or what's that whole thing like?
Yeah, I wasn't expecting it. Everyone warned me, and I immediately, we moved to Germany very quickly after we got married, and like with less than a month. And so I just thought, I'm an attorney. I'll find something. No big deal. I already work for the federal government, just moved over there. And it was definitely a hit to my ego to go from like I was a GS-13 working for a federal district judge to the best job I could get was a GS-6 doing like claims administration.
Mm-hmm.
And so I enjoyed it. I made the best of it for sure because I got to travel all over Europe, every weekend and whatnot. But that took a big hit. And I thought, well, when I get back to the States, it'll get easier.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. And then shockingly finding out that the area around the duty station can instantly tell who's a military spouse. I mean, you got Germany on your resume. It's pretty obvious that
Mhm.
you're a military spouse, and they want nothing to do with you because they know you're going to move. So even the in-person positions available around a duty station weren't an option, especially as a lawyer. They said, why? By the time you build a reputation, you're gone because the idea, at least at that time, of working remotely or hybrid or any of those components and, flying back in for a trial or something, that didn't exist. So,
Yeah, right.
you didn't do client meetings by Zoom or whatever. But
Mhm.
now lots have changed since then. So, but
Right.
that's a big part of it, the constant rejection simply because of who I married. And I'm like, wait a minute. You respect him for serving our country, that same person would constantly say, oh, thank you for your service. But then it's a slap in the face to the spouse themselves to
Yeah.
actually say, yeah, but we're not going to employ you.
Mm-hmm. It has to be hard, like mentally and emotionally too. Just,
Yeah,
yeah, just
yeah, for
constant
sure.
rejection and trying to like develop yourself and grow.
Yeah, yeah, and then there's feeds from the military side of it, where they want to help, but we constantly hear this propaganda of, well, just get more education. That's the problem. Well, no, at some point you have enough education. You just want an actual job.
Right.
And
Yeah.
then, oh, here you can volunteer. I mean, the military really uses military spouses for volunteer opportunities. So it's a little bit on the ridiculous side how much they use this for volunteering. It's like, no, you can actually pay
Right. Come on.
nurses. I mean, to get a job as a nurse to work for the military, you have to basically volunteer to get that. And then
Um,
after one of the few jobs, oh, it's so ridiculous. Like, no, these are paid positions. You don't act as a nurse, unpaid. That's not a volunteer thing.
yeah. Well, you're changing lives with this whole legal reinforcements, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, no, for sure. Definitely want people to have this career opportunity. I've even helped, I hate to mention it because it's such a sad thing, but it's such a wonderful thing too. People in domestic violence situations that were stuck were able to work remotely and save up enough money to escape their situation, which I mean, I
Yeah.
didn't know at the time that was happening until they're like, thank you. I finally got enough money to the job you helped me get, working remotely. And I was able to work remotely because, the domestic violence abuser is keeping the bank account separate and keeping a vehicle where the spouse didn't have access to a vehicle. So she was really trapped in that home. And so my setting her up with a job was really the only opportunity she had to make money, and then be able to escape the domestic violence situation.
Wow, that's yeah, that's amazing. That's amazing. So what about the freelance? that you're doing, the writing and everything, is that something that you want to expand? Are you looking
Um,
to that with legal reinforcements and stuff?
I know, right? Yeah, I thought about that. Yeah, I haven't. I right now I just take on as many clients as I can handle writing for. But I have helped other military spouses do freelance work and, read what they've written and given feedback on it and helped many understand how to find those attorney clients to
Mhm.
start their own freelance law firm. But I wouldn't be opposed to expanding it at some point down the line to, to actually say, okay, I've got all these jobs in here. You do this one for me and you do that one for me. But
Yeah.
I've enjoyed doing it. I mean, I started 10 years ago. I was a stay-at-home mom by not exactly by choice, but kind of by choice, by force, I guess. But, and I liked it, but I hated not being able to use my lawyer brain. Being a mom is very different and from using that intellectual component of my brain. And I was once I started doing, and I just started about 20 hours a month when I
Mhm.
first started doing Social Security disability appeals,
Mhm.
and just realized I was a far better mom and more patient with my kid when I was getting that stimuli that I needed. And so that was neat to do. And then I realized I hated drafting for Social Security appeals cases. So I stopped and I started doing more litigation stuff, which is really my favorite. Lots of motions to dismiss, summary judgment, contract, anything. I love drafting contracts, breach of contract claims. Those are always fun.
Mhm.
Just all that kind of stuff.
That's wonderful. And so a few moments ago, it sounded like you said you teach other military spouse,
Spouse attorneys.
yeah, to do their own firm like yours.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, so there's a few things going on here.
That's true, I guess. I don't charge for that. Maybe I need to.
I mean, it's that sounds like something you might want to think about, but yeah, you've got a few different things going on. That's wonderful. That's wonderful.
Yeah, yeah, I love helping them do that. I mean, I found it worked best for me. My husband's coming up on retiring June 1st. So we've had
Oh,
a
okay.
fun little ride through this military spouse world. And, it's been the best way for me to have a career where I can balance raising the kids, having the flexibility I needed, moving every 3 years and all of that, and still getting to enjoy litigation, which is definitely my favorite thing.
Oh, wonderful. It sounds like there's a book in there.
That's
Sorry.
probably true.
I'm pushing you.
I love it. No, it's a good thing. It's good.
Yeah. Well, any last words for everybody you'd like everybody to know about legal reinforcements?
Yeah, if you have any staffing needs, from anything you could think of, bookkeeping, intake, legal assistant work, anywhere from 5 hours to full time.
Mhm.
Legal reinforcements, legalreinforcements.com is our website. It's easy to find. Reach out to us and we'll, the more broad of a position, the easier it is for us to fill, but we get some really crazy connections. I mean, I had one that she only does police officers, and and she used to be a police officer, and I had someone who I had onboarded about a week before that who was a woman SWAT military
Uh,
spouse, and so
well,
the connection couldn't be more perfect. That you
ah,
never know, so might as well send an email and ask. It costs nothing to ask, and then we only charge $400 for a successful hire. So, reach out and try to hire a military spouse. That's the biggest thing. At least try us.
yeah, that's wonderful. All right. And so is that pretty much it? Just go to legalreinforcements.com.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
okay. Okay. Well, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. I love it. Keep up
Thank
the
you.
good
Thanks for
work.
having me. This is
Yeah,
wonderful.
absolutely. It's exciting. It really is. Okay. All right, everyone. Chris Mullins with Lawyers Tell All. We'll see you again real soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you for tuning in to Lawyers Tell All, where Chris Mullins takes you on a journey with lawyers in the trenches who show you the realities of what it takes to succeed in this chaotic, crowded, ever-changing profession. Remember to visit our website at www.lawyerstellall.com and enjoy even more great episodes like this one. Again, while you're here, Subscribe to us via your favorite network. We look forward to seeing you next time on Lawyers Tell All.